Okay, talking about aggressive entries or trades today. And then I want to talk about fair value gaps or imbalances inside of a supply or demand zone. But when referencing aggressive trades, because lots of people like to, traders I notice, take those type setups. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, because lots of times trades will work out where they may tap a zone. Especially when we're talking about multi-chart confluence, like marking up a higher base chart and then you're scaling down to a lower base chart and then waiting for a setup. Say, for example, like right here, this was the bigger box was the 120 range demand zone. Okay, so that means that all we did in the style on how I trade, I talk about using and marking up a higher base zone and then scaling down or moving down to a lower base chart. For anyone out there that knows about confluence, you should know that the more confluence you have on your side when marking up charts, especially when it comes to, again, supply and demand, then, the probability of a trade working out and moving in your favor is going to be higher. It's going to increase. So in this instance right here, for example, I just want to say this was a valid zone. We have the structural break to an upside right here, as you can see. Okay. But be careful because you do have this demand zone resting right here, but we also have one resting down below. Now, this first demand zone we have right here, once we mark it up and we move down to our lower base chart, what I'm looking for then is to see if we have another zone, a smaller zone inside of the higher base zone. And the reason for that is that we want to get into a more precise entry point, okay? Meaning we want to get into a more exact position, one in which we are not where the move, for example, if you're taking a trade off of a zone, off of a higher base chart, there could be a lot of drawdown in one candle on a higher base chart. But by marking it on a higher base chart and then scaling down to a lower base chart, it's going to define the zone more so. So you're looking for a bigger zone and then a smaller zone. Sorry about that. I hit my tapped my microphone. But this is our larger 120 range zone, and this is our 24 range zone right here. Did the market react very well off that zone? Yes, you could easily pick up 20 points right there on the NASDAQ 100 futures or the micros just as well. But for those that aren't patient enough and they jump right into trades, I'm definitely going to say right now, please, by confirmation, look for, and for rejection, look for the market to give you some confirmation, meaning once it taps into the zones that you have marked up, higher base, lower base, try your best not to just jump into that zone. Again, I'm not here to tell anyone exactly what to do. That's up to you and and what you want to do with your capital. But what I'm saying is, if you're waiting for more of a rejection, so you've got, if you're going to take it as far as going halfway through the strategy and going step by step, then why not full on wait for the confirmation, all right? Because eventually all you're going to do is you're going to continuously have the psychological cycle of I'm winning, taking aggressive entries, and then it doesn't work out the next week, but then again it works out the following week, just back and forth. Following the same plan each time will help you out in the long run. Will position you into profitability by the end of the week, okay? Sticking with your plan, sticking to the guns, okay, each and every day. Now, I'm waiting for most times the break and close of a candle. So right here on this trade setup, let me blow this up a little bit. With the market tap into the higher base zone and then we have a lower base zone within the higher base zone, that's what I'm talking about when I say multi-chart confluence, all right, setups. That's all in the strategy. What I'm talking about, I discussed the strategy in tons of videos here on the channel. So guys, please spend some time watching the videos, and more likely, that you're going to understand what I'm talking about in reference to the strategy. And again, if you're not a current subscriber, please take the time to go ahead and sub. There's lots of valuable information here that if you spend time, you can actually learn the strategy yourself and be on your way to hopefully some profitability. And if you need more in-depth or detailed information, and what I'm trying to say is that there's also a private community to where I actually go and break these trades down, because watching the videos, yes, it covers the strategy, but actually seeing the trade setups unfold to where I walk you through these setups, that's what the elite channel members are getting. So if you're interested in becoming an elite channel member and supporting the channel, down below in the description portion of the video, there's a link there. Okay, you'll see it says become an elite member. Click on that. You'll have two tiers that will pop up. The latter one, the one for $6.99 a month, if you sign up for that, you get the trade breakdowns. So where I go to post trades on our Discord, correct, right? Trades that I've taken. I go to the private community and post breakdowns of these trades. So that's what the private community members are getting for such a very inexpensive fee. And there are tons of those trade breakdowns, and those type setups and explanations help traders understand the strategy full on. It helps define where to place your profit target, where to place your stop loss. It lets you know from my mindset, my executions of why I took that play, that trade, because I'm going into detail about them. So you get the trade breakdowns, you get the video playlist, and then you get like a great video I did on market structure. I'm keen in talking about market structure so much because it's imperative to understand the flow, the movement of the actual market, what it's doing when it's breaking higher highs and higher lows and breaking lower lows and lower highs, and what are signs of reversals. So for all those that are interested in becoming an elite member, you may want to do so. The link is down in the description portion of the video. Just scroll down. You'll see the link down below. Again, this entry right here was based on higher base setup or zone and a lower base zone. And then I'm looking for the break and close of the candle above to go long. If I got in here at right around at 321 or 322, the market went all the way up to 362. That's a 40 point move right there. So you could have collected on your 20 points very easy off that trade setup. And this is the zone within this leg to the upside where the market broke structure higher. Then there's a ladder zone down here, a lower entry or a lower zone below. So there's going to be instances where you're going to see multiple zones, especially, and I talk about part of the strategy is waiting for a beautiful breaker structure to the upside. And then in this case, you may have multiple zones on the chart within that leg that broke structure to the upside. There's one here and one here. You see the market reacting to this one. You see the market reacting here. But again, I want to zoom down or scale down to the lower base chart as well to mark up my zones inside the higher base zone. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. But please try your best not to take aggressive entries or trades. Because in this example right here, let's say you got into the trade right here. You're in at the close of this candle and it was bullish, and then the next candle is red, and then it just falls to the downside. See, you're not, by waiting for more confirmation to where you're getting, say, for example, you get 2 candle breaks to the upside here, but you're also getting a break above the last down bearish candle to where it closes above to give you confirmation. Now I got 2 strong bullish candles to the upside, and the market is reacting off of an area of demand on the lower base chart. It's already reacted off of the higher base zone, which is the bigger box. Okay, now it's reacting off of a lower base zone, and I'm getting the confirmation with bullish signals to where I'm getting 2 bars closed to the upside. See how that works? Taking an aggressive entry as soon as he taps the zone, you're putting yourself in more of a risky territory. Okay, now what I want to share with you just quickly is about imbalances when it comes to trades, entries, or zones where there's imbalances or gaps back inside of a zone. So you see, for example, how the market pushed up here, and we just were talking about this area here. See what it did? It came back and filled. Lots of times, this is the zone. This is our demand zone. We're marking it up off the last, or that bearish candle right there, the top end of it and the bottom end of the wick of the bullish candle. That all needs to be included. Okay. So when I mark that up right there, what you can see is when the market come back, it didn't stop right at the zone. It actually came inside the zone to fill in the remaining imbalance or gap back inside the zone. This area here, back up to here. There's a small gap right there. It comes all the way in and fill that. Sometimes they'll come and just stop right at the zone to fill the gap from here to up here, which they did, but there's still a gap from this bullish candle to the wick end of the bottom of the third candle right here. So, what I'm talking about is that sometimes you will have when they stop here and then move to the upside. Is it still valid? Yes, it is. But also be mindful there's also a gap or imbalance resting inside the zone. They can come back and test that area as well. So that's what I'm talking about. This case here, it came all the way back in and filled the gap and then made us move. This case here came all the way back to fill the gap on the ends, or the gap right here was actually at the zone. If you notice here, where the market created this area of demand right here and pushed up, when it came back, the gap was right here pretty much at the zone. Not right here because there was a gap inside the zone. There was a gap inside the zone that was below the actual zone mark up here. Like right here. Again, there's a gap resting right here inside the zone above the area of demand. Okay, so it could come down here and test this area here, and then we get some rejection as well. Now, moving on, I'm going to show you more examples right quick. These are areas where the market reacted at. You see right here, this was the demand zone markup. Okay, the market comes back. It doesn't stop right at the zone. Most times it will, and sometimes it'll push even further deeper and fill in the imbalance or gap resting within. That imbalance resting right here. Okay, comes and fills it in, and then blasts to the upside. Okay, notice right here, demand zone created, broke structure to the upside right here. Comes back, it comes to the zone, but it also fills that gap back on the inside of the zone and pushes up. Okay, rejects right there. All right, moving on, show you some more examples. Let's see if we got like right here as well. Okay, pushing up, pulling back, breaking structure higher here. As you can see, comes back. This is the demand zone we marked up. Comes to the zone. All right, and it just doesn't stop there. It taps that zone and digs a little deeper. Now, did it come all the way in and fill the actual gap on the inside of the zone? Nope. It dug a little deeper, but it filled the gap back at the zone. Okay, but there's a small imbalance resting on the inside, but it decided to move away. Is it still valid? Yes, it is, because it did come back to the actual demand zone, in which there was a small gap from the markup of the zone to where the candle broke above and came before it came back, and the candle where it came back was right here. So like right here, if I blow this up, all right, mark the zone up. This bullish candle broke above, created the zone right there. Momentum to the upside, creating the area of demand. This candle here didn't immediately come back and tap the zone and continue pushing higher. Then we get a tap back to the zone, but it didn't feel the imbalance resting to the zone until it came right here. Okay, so in this case here, it did react at it. Okay, rejected it, pushed up, but they decided to push lower. All right, now again, lots of times it will stop at the zone, the actual demand zone, and then most times you'll get your reaction or rejection right there. But there's still possibility where they can test that inside zone later, okay, or that inside gap or imbalance later, and then react at it. Do I like those areas on the inside? Yeah, because I know they can react at them, but I'm very cautious because once they tap the actual demand zone or supply zone, because it could be the area supply too, and then reacted at it, I'm not saying that they can't react on the inside of where there's an imbalance resting inside the zone as well. But once they react at the actual zone, I'm a little bit more cautious because, you know, if they react right here, for example, right here, when they came back to this area and don't make a new high after tapping the area of demand, then I'm very mindful of what happens once they come back inside that zone. And then flip an opposite of when they do the same thing in testing supply area. They go back. They test a supply area above, okay, and there's an imbalance inside the zone, okay. So let's say they stop at the supply zone, all right. They move away from it. They break the most recent low below that, and then come back and test that area or that imbalance area inside the zone. Then more likely they probably want to continue pushing lower as well. But if they do not make a new low once they tap the zone, okay, the actual supply zone, and then they don't break a new low, then they may want to start moving the opposite direction. So in this case here, what I'm trying to say is this is a demand zone. They came back, tested the zone, didn't feel the imbalance lower, but nor did they come up here and take out or make a new high. As you see right here, what they did was it rejected at the actual demand zone, pushed up, okay, and then broke lower because they didn't want to go up there and make a new high. So if they're continuously making lower lows or makes a new low right here, not low, I'm sorry, makes a new lower high, then they might possibly want to continue pushing lower. All right. You see here, okay, you got a demand area here, breaking structure to the upside. Took a while for it to come back to it, but when it did come back to it, it reacted and pushed higher, okay? So we covered that one. Okay, so here's a good example right here. You see what the market is breaking structure to the upside right here, and then it comes back. It almost tapped the demand zone, resting right here. We got the breaking structure to the upside, creating an area of beautiful momentum where there's demand at. When it comes back, it doesn't tap it. So you got to wait patiently, okay? I wasn't taking this trade until it comes back and actually taps the zone. When it taps the zone, not only did it tap the zone, but it filled the imbalance on the inside right here, and then it blasted to the upside. So let's say, for example, they tapped the zone eventually, pushed up some, you got into the trade, okay? But it didn't make a new high, but they actually did something. Let's just say like this right here. I'm going to show an example. They tapped the zone right here. Oops. Let's start over. I'm going to grab this again. They tap the zone right here. They push up, right? The high's resting up here. Then they come back, and then they feel the imbalance resting right here on the inside, okay? Be careful because they actually didn't make a new high, so they could do something like this just to push lower. Fake out, okay? That's what they love to do. Okay, they'll create two instances to where there's an area of supply here, there's a gap that needs to be filled right here, but there's an imbalance on the inside of the zone just as well. So they react when it tapped the actual zone, made, it reacted there. You took your trade and they say, okay, well, let's see what happens when it taps the inside imbalance. That's where they're going to get you at. Okay, most times probably they're going to actually, the market can come back, tap the inside of the zone because it didn't make a new high after it rejected the first time. It can make a lower high and push lower. So just be cautious of, this kind of second opportunities inside of an actual zone. So if we go back to like right here, I'll show you. I'm going to go back to this area right here. Okay. All right. So in this case right here, we'll see and wait to see what happens here. So we got a breaker structure to the upside. It comes back immediately, or not immediately, but it comes back, reacts at the actual demand zone here, breaks higher or pushes up right here. So now we're interested in see, okay, what's going to happen right here? Okay, will they actually test this zone and react at a little bit just to fake traders out, to stop buyers out, to push lower? That's what I'm getting at. Okay, so hopefully you understand that. Lots of times the best opportunity may unfold when it actually taps the first time at the supply or demand zone and reacts there. Okay, so if they react and then they don't make a new high, okay, taking out a high, but they react and at the zone and you got in, then be careful with that zone on the inside, or that imbalance on the inside, to see what's actually going to take place. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to take place right here around the 219, 218, 220 areas. We'll see what happens. Okay. All right. So, but I just want to share that with you guys today about taking aggressive entries and trades. To me, I try to stay away from doing so. And you have to get yourself psychologically in the stance or mode or mindset of trying to stay away from things like that, because in trading, we already have so many variables against us. So we have to wait patiently, and to execute our trades, you have to be very methodical about this and taking your trade setups and waiting with confirmation. That's what we want. We want the rejection. We want confirmation that tells us that we feel comfortable about getting to the trade, and then you want to be confident about the trade just as well. Okay. But when it comes to actual imbalances and fair value gaps and things like that, just make sure you're marking up good solid zones first and foremost. Moving down to the lower base chart to get more confirmation with a second zone, say for example, inside that zone. So all it is, we're marking up a bigger zone to kind of refine the inside zone. Okay. So a zone within a zone gives us the confirmation. It gives us more confluence. We get the rejection, we take it, but be careful about, areas of imbalances resting on the inside of the zone after the market has already reacted back at a demand on area of supply. Just be careful with that. I'm not saying they won't, especially if they made a new high or a new low. They may come back to that imbalance area on the inside, and then you get a second opportunity. All right. So hopefully that makes sense to every individual out there who follows the channel. If you are a first-time viewer, please take the time to go ahead, click on the sub button now down below, but also make sure to turn your post notifications on so you don't miss any other uploads here on the channel. Very valuable content. Okay. So please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Become a member today. If you're interested in joining the Discord, the link is down below. If you're interested in becoming an elite member, the link is down below. Outside of that, if you found some value and understand what I'm talking about, here, now I trade range-based charts, okay? So, again, it doesn't really matter what style chart you actually trade. You'll see things like this happen. But I trade range-based charts just by personal preference, okay? But outside of that, that's all I want to talk about today, and hopefully you understand. If you found value in today's video, please drop a like by clicking on the thumbs up button. I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful weekend. Take care.